Hey everyone, this is John with Lead Capture IO, just shooting a quick video to walk through some of our recent enhancements and feature updates for the Lead Capture IO platform here as part of our last sprint release, which went live on February 25th, 2025. So I'll just pull up the list here. Now, this release was mainly focused around some key features for improving lead quality. These have been things we've had on the roadmap for a while and really needed to knock out. For those of you who don't know, we work in bi-weekly sprints, and we're typically shipping out quick features and enhancements bi-weekly. But for larger features like point of capture, email verification, eventually landing pages, we tend to build those over multiple sprints, and then they'll end up getting shipped out as part of our bi-weekly sprint. Now, the big thing I wanted to touch on is the ability to disqualify based on zip code. So let's start there. Many of you have been requesting the ability to prevent a lead from moving to the next step in the lead capture form if their zip code is not in an area that you service, that your client services, or if you're selling leads that your buyer services. Well, now that's possible with our, I don't even have a good name for it. It's like disqualify based on zip or postal code. So just to show you how this works here, I'm in a zip code step. You simply just click into the zip code field, and you'll now see this section here called zip code verification list. So there's two things you need to do. First, you need to add all of the zip codes that you, or postal codes that you accept. Then you will need to add a message to display to the user or to the lead if they are not in one of those areas. So to add the different zip codes, just click on this little icon. This opens up a module where you can begin to add your zip codes or postal codes using comma separated values. So for example, I'll just add two. I'll add two from the local Pennsylvania region, 19064, and then you would add a comma, and then the next one, 19063. So this is basically saying here that in order for the lead to move to the next step, they need to enter in one of these zip codes. If they do not enter one of these zip codes, then I would consider them not being part of the area that I service, and then they would see a message basically saying whatever I wanted to say, like you are not in our serviceable region, something like that, probably more friendly. And I'll click save. You can add as many as you'd like, so you just make sure you add each one with a comma separated value, click set, and now they're all set. Then you can add in some message. I'll just say something like this is not in a serviceable area, click save. Now this additional logic has been set to the zip code field. So let's go to a landing page here and I'll show you how this works. First, I'll enter a zip code that would technically be accepted. So I'll enter 19063, and you'll see that I continue to the next step, and then I could go through, enter an address, and submit. Now let me add an address that would not fall within one of these regions. I'll just enter, let's imagine someone enters something bogus like 555. And then you'll see, oh, hold on. You'll see that I automatically just got a message saying what I entered into the previous section here, that it's not in a serviceable area. And you'll see I can't click next. If I enter another zip code, let's say 19061, same message. So what's happening here is we're pinging the API, looking at the zip code list here that's been set, making sure that it's not within one of the qualifying zip codes or postal codes, then instantly showing that message. It seems simple, but there was a lot of back-end and front-end work that went into making this happen. So this is really one of the key features that we released as part of the sprint release. Let's dive into a few of the additional things here. So the next update that we made, for those of you who are not aware of this, and most of you should be because I was talking about this nonstop in January, we released tons of updates around TCPA and compliance and capture and compliance. And we have this whole new section here around capturing both one-to-one consent and just consent in general. Now, despite the fact that one-to-one consent was struck down, many people are still capturing one-to-one consent, and it's still a best practice to capture TCPA consent in your lead capture forms, regardless of if you're doing one-to-one consent or not. So as part of we have these different consent templates. You can have multiple company consent where there's multiple checkboxes, or single company consent where it's just like one company, and it would just be terms like this without a checkbox. Some of the feedback that we got here is that we needed an easier way to add a checkbox into this section. So that's now possible as well. So in the single consent section, if you need to get a checkbox like right here, you can just come in here, add single consent, and click add checkbox. Flip that switch, the checkbox has been added, and you can even resize it to make it larger if needed. So that is how you now add a checkbox to the single consent region. And I would even use this for GDPR, so we'll probably at some point replace this GDPR checkbox section, since now that's kind of redundant. And the key thing to note about this area here, and this is what makes it super powerful, is that every single time that someone clicks this box and submits, we're tagging that lead as a compliant lead. That tag is stored in the system. We're also storing all of this information so you can retrieve it in case you ever have to go back and look at your records and share proof of consent. And also this proof of consent can be passed into your CRM and lead distribution tools. That's why I highly recommend using this area rather than this stuff down here, which again, we probably will have to get rid of at some point. So that really kind of like rounded out that consent section here with that checkbox that was really needed. Beyond that, another pretty big update that we made here is just around making the webhook a little bit more flexible. It's already extremely flexible, but some of you needed the ability here to add headers, custom headers that appear outside of like the main body of the webhook. You could do that here now. You could add your header name and header value. This is probably a little bit more of an advanced feature, but this now opens up the ability to connect to even more systems that require additional authorization. So that is now a feature that is available within the webhook. We'll continue to update the webhook as needed, but there's already so much that you could do with it. It's super flexible. And then beyond that, another update that we made here is, well, we made tons of backend updates that you won't notice at first because obviously you can't see all of the code. You just see the front end stuff, but you'll continue to see the system performance always continue to improve with a lot of the updates that we recently made. Beyond that, the other thing I wanted to note is just a new integration with a company called Anura. So Anura helps with basically fraud protection. It accurately identifies bots, malware, and human fraud. So I know many of you are looking to stop form spam, and we have a number of features inside of LeadCapture.io that you can use, like reCAPTCHA, phone verification, and email verification coming soon. But in addition to that, you can now integrate with Anura to get some additional, I guess, like checks when someone submits the LeadCapture form. It can help identify whether or not it's a human or fraud, whether that's bot or something else. So this integration is set up. We'll have a guide on how to get all of this set up in the near future. If you need access to Anura, I would just go over to anura.io, and then you could submit a demo to speak with someone, and they'll help you get all set up. Then let us know, or just come and search for the help docs, and you'll see the documentation. There's basically like 2 fields that you have to set. So what is coming next? That is just what was released over the last couple weeks. There's a lot of really great stuff in progress. So the first thing that I'm super excited about is point of capture email verification that will really help kind of round out our lead verification tools. So we have point of capture phone verification, point of capture email verification will be a huge update, and we're almost done that, I believe, so we should get that out the door soon. Then we're also working on a Skiptracing integration, more on that coming out shortly. And then the big one, as we kind of get into Q2 and finish up Q1, is advanced conditional logic. I was working on some of this the other day. I'm really excited to kind of see what this ends up looking like. I think it's going to provide a lot of additional flexibility, especially in creating more advanced flows and just streamlining the ability to create complex funnels and lead capture forms that have many, many steps. So this will be a huge update. And then beyond that, as we get into Q2, we're looking at landing pages, and then eventually in Q2 we'll be focused more on form builder, UX, UI, adding folders in, all sorts of feature requests that are coming in. So thank you to all of you who have been providing all of your feedback. We're building Lead Capture.io based on your feedback. We're taking it all in, and we're continuing to improve the platform and build out all of these features. I'm excited to kind of see where we land towards the end of Q1, and I think Q2 is going to be super exciting.